In this final section of this chapter, I'd like to talk to you about a compositional choice and tool set that you might consider using that you may not have considered using before, and that is converting images from color to black and white. This is not something you probably want to do with all your images, but there are some images that really lend themselves to this. Now, let me show you a series of images where I think this is the case. Upper left-hand corner is the color version of the Kodiak wave image, but that doesn't go into my portfolio. The one that does is the lower right image. I love black and white landscape photography, and I take images that really lend themselves to black and white images. If you're trying to focus on form or texture or fabric, and if that's what you're really trying to show, black and white is a great medium in which to work. Notice this upper left-hand corner is a fine image. It's well composed, beautiful wave, beautiful mountains, but that color just grabs the eye. In fact, even as powerful as this wave is, because of the color in the background here, the background kind of steals the attention sometimes. The eye is kind of moving back and forth. Whereas in the lower right-hand image, the wave is more powerful. And what is really important in this image is the texture, is the fabric, is the form. This image, absolutely, I think you would agree that the lower right-hand image is superior because this is all about texture and all about eye line. In the upper left-hand corner, the color, again, kind of steals the show. It mutes the texture of these beautiful ripples. In this image of the tundra, they're both gorgeous images, and I love the color version of the image. But if you really want to look at the texture of the leaves, boy, the black and white really shows it in spades. And it's not a matter of right or wrong or good or bad. It's just whatever you're trying to show. Here's two versions of Lost Lake, which is one of the hiking trails in the Kenai Peninsula that I frequent. And notice that aquamarine color, which is from the glacial rock flower that comes from the glaciers. It's so fine that it stays in suspension even in completely still water. And boy, is it an eye catcher. And it's a beautiful image. But notice the black and white version. In the black and white version, the sky becomes more prominent. The mountain slopes become more prominent. And I've adjusted this image so the lake is still in contrast with everything else, but it doesn't steal the show. In these two images, this is such a fascinating comparison because when you look at the left-hand image, boy, the sky is just brilliant. And, because we have many more cones, which are the color receptors in our eyes, than we do rods, our eyes are really drawn to color. So what's so important about that image is that blue sky. That's what we focus on. But here in the right-hand image, boy, it's reversed, isn't it? The sky goes to the background, and the trees, boy, they become the dominant ones. They're stealing the show, which is what I was after in this particular image, not vice versa. And in this image that you've seen throughout the course, the left-hand version is the color version. Love it. Very nice. But the right-hand side, if you want to show the form of that tree and the texture of the leaves, putting that stark white against the black background, there's nothing better. And finally, and perhaps my most favorite comparison of color to black and white is this, the sea star legs. It was interesting when I saw the sea star, and it was on a vertical wooden post of an old dock out in Homer Harbor, and I looked at it and I immediately saw in my mind's eye this picture. Because here, there's not a great deal of contrast between, the sea star legs and the back. There's purple here and yellow, and it's obviously you can see the difference, but boy, it just doesn't stand out and pop out. But boy, I just saw this image when I shot that photograph, and I knew that I'd be able to create this kind of beautiful contrast and see how the texture just jumps off the page on the right-hand image. So just keep this in mind as you're shooting images and composing images, and keep your eye out for something that might convert very nicely from color to black and white. Because this image here would never make it into my portfolio. It's just not visually strong enough, but this one certainly is.